If we do not do something serious by 2027, 94% of rivers in England will be unfit, will not be in good overall health. And I certainly would not allow my children to go anywhere near while swimming a river right now when I know water industry spending millions of hours a year dumping sewage into those rivers purely to drive their profitability and destroying our environment in the process. That's what's at stake.
Times launches a new campaign today. If ever you found yourself concerned about the health of your local river, the wildlife around it, or the resilience of wild swimmers tackling not just currents but raw sewage, you'll know there's a problem with our waterways. The Clean It Up campaign by the Times is calling for a beefed up environment agency, jail sentences and fines for water bosses responsible for repeated and serious pollution incidents, and help for farmers trying to curb the impact of what they're doing on the environment as well. One of the most vocal campaigners in this area is Feargal Sharkey. He's supporting the campaign and is live with us. Morning, Feargal.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for your time. Start us off with, as things stand, how bad is this problem?
It is more dreadful than you could possibly ever imagine. Where we stand right now, the latest estimate from DEFRA is unless there is significant intervention by 2027, just 6% of rivers in England will meet good ecological condition. As we stand, every single one is polluted, and two of the biggest sources of that pollution are agriculture and the water industry.
And that pollution comes in what forms and what does it do?
Well, in terms of the water industry itself, specifically in today's campaign, over the last 2 years, water companies have spent over 6 million hours dumping sewage into our rivers on over 750,000 separate occasions. And that, as you can imagine, degrades, destroys whole ecosystems, whole environments, which is why every single river in the country is now polluted. And the combination of sewage and agricultural pollution from fertilizers and farm runoff, the water companies themselves have been profiteering massively. I think water companies have now paid out about £72 billion in dividends. The largest fine the Environment Agency can issue itself is £250,000. Now, to give your listeners a little context, a few years back, Anglia Water paid out £1.9 billion in dividends to its shareholders. Shortly after that, South West Water 1.5. And last December, Thames Water announced they made almost £500 million in profit in just 6 months. And the biggest fine the Environment Agency can issue is £250,000. The whole situation's a total disaster.
And so do you think that actually the Environment Agency needs more powers? Because I read in the Times this morning that the Environment Agency does have civil powers, which it got in 2010 to fine companies, but it's never used those powers.
Oh, the Environment Agency itself needs a massive overhaul. Quite recently, they've appointed a new chairman. There was an indication from government last October that it was looking to increase the level of those fines to £250 million. Now, when we have a situation where Thames Water, one company, in 6 months made £500 million, that to me seems like a reasonably proportionate approach. And yet the new chairman of the Environment Agency referred to that level of fine as, and I'm quoting, crazy and massive. As a former regulator, I would think it's astonishing that you're indicating to industry that you're not prepared to intervene, you're not prepared to regulate, and in fact you're prepared to stand back and let them carry on the wanton destruction of our environment for their profitability.
Well, the Environment Agency aren't here to defend themselves, but I want to ask you about the government side of this as well, because the front page of the Times, which you'll have seen, leads with Theresa Coffey, or the understanding that the paper has of what Theresa Coffey wants to do, the Environment Secretary, is, quote, understood to believe that fines of up to £250 million are disproportionate and is backing away from the plans. Now, DEFRA insists that the biggest penalties are still on the table, but what do you make of those whispers that the Times has gleaned?
Again, it is just part of the utterly shambolic approach that this government, and I'm not making a party political broadcast, I'm being as objective as I possibly can. It's an utterly shambolic approach this government has taken. The Secretary of State went on to say that she thought that fines of that level would in some way inhibit growth. That statement in itself tells me everything you need to know. These companies are running state-granted monopolies. They're not interested in growth. The only thing they're interested in is maintaining their monopoly. And for the Secretary of State to make that kind of statement tells me she's either been very badly briefed or doesn't understand her brief in the first place.
Well, as I say, it wasn't a statement. It's something that the Times has understood that she has been speaking about behind closed doors. So we'll find out exactly how that shakes down. But just finally, Feargal, if this isn't tackled and this Times campaign isn't heeded and what you're saying isn't heeded, what is at risk here? Because it's not just the comfort of wild swimmers or maintaining beautiful riverbanks, is it?
Oh no, we are, and I can happily keep repeating this. If we do not do something serious by 2027, 94% of rivers in England will be unfit, will not be in good overall health. And I certainly would not allow my children to go anywhere near wild swim in a river right now when I know water industry spending millions of hours a year dumping sewage into those rivers purely to drive their profitability and destroying our environment in the process. That's what's at stake.
Thank you for your time, Feargal. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Feargal Sharkey there, campaigner on this. You can read more about this entire campaign in the Times today. And in fact, as well, I mean, this is never good to do on the radio, but there's a really good Morton Moreland cartoon as well in the comment pages, which, if you remember that famous Millet painting of Ophelia from Hamlet, sort of like underneath the willow,